Picture this. It's February 25th, 2026. Thousands of tech journalists, engineers, and gadget enthusiasts from around the world are crammed into the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco, waiting for one of the biggest product launches of the year, Samsung's Galaxy Unpacked. The energy in the room is electric. People are there for smartphones, for AI, for the next big leap in mobile technology. And then, out of nowhere, Samsung drops a name that sends the internet into a complete meltdown. Not a tech CEO, not a Silicon Valley visionary, but a rapper and music producer from South Korea, Min Yoongi, better known to the world as Suga of BTS. Meanwhile, just a few months earlier, in the rain-soaked streets of Paris, another member of that same group sat front row at one of the most prestigious fashion houses on the planet, Dior, Jonathan Anderson's debut women's wear collection. And within 12 hours of ParkJimin taking his seat in the Tuileries Garden, over 4.8 million mentions exploded across social media. Not because of the clothes, because of him. So today, we're telling the story that nobody has fully told yet. How two members of the same K-pop group, from the same small country, decided to conquer two completely different industries, and why the world's biggest brands in tech and fashion said yes without hesitation. Before we get into the deals, the stages, and the sold-out products, you need to understand who Suga and Jimin actually are, because if you only know them as K-pop guys, you're missing the real story. Suga, whose real name is Min Yoongi, is not just a performer. He is a producer, a composer, and a musician who grew up in Daegu, South Korea, grinding his way through poverty and countless rejections before debuting with BTS in 2013. He taught himself to produce music. He wrote lyrics that resonated with millions of people who had never even heard a word of Korean before. He released solo mixtapes under the name agustd that critics called raw, brutally honest, and genuinely brilliant. This is a man who understands sound the way engineers understand circuits. When Samsung needed someone to be the face of their most advanced audio product to date, the Galaxy Buds 4 Pro, the choice wasn't really a choice at all. Jimin, on the other hand, is ParkJimin, a dancer, a vocalist, a performer so precise in his artistry that he was accepted into Busan Arts High School as the top student in his contemporary dance department. His sense of style is not curated by a team. It is instinctive. It is deeply personal. He has spoken about fashion as a form of self-expression, about how the clothes you wear tell the world who you are before you say a single word. So when Dior, the house that has defined elegance for nearly a century, was looking for someone to embody what their brand stood for in 2023 and beyond, they did not just pick a famous face. They picked a man whose identity and the brand's identity were genuinely aligned. Two different people, two different strengths, two wildly different industries, and both of them, somehow, became the most talked about names in those spaces. Let's talk about Samsung first, because the story of how Suga ended up at Galaxy Unpacked 2026 actually stretches back further than most people realize. It didn't start with a contract signed in a boardroom. It started at a concert in New Jersey in 2023, during Suga's first ever solo world tour. He was doing a moment with fans, inviting them to take selfies with him on stage. And when someone in the crowd handed him a phone to take the photo, he stopped, looked at it, and said, "And this is real. If you offer me a phone, please give me only Galaxy. No iPhone." He said it with a smile, but he meant it. He said it again, and again. It went viral instantly, not because it was scripted, but because it clearly was not. That moment revealed something brands spend millions trying to manufacture: genuine affinity. Samsung noticed. And Samsung acted. By the time CES 2026 rolled around in January, Samsung had brought several BTS members to their press conference. Then came the announcement for Galaxy Unpacked, scheduled for February 25th, 2026, in San Francisco. A few hours before the event began, Samsung posted a single image on their official social media accounts. It was a poster of Suga. No caption needed, just the image. The internet understood immediately. And at the event itself, Suga appeared alongside Samsung's flagship launch of the year, the Galaxy S26 series and the Galaxy Buds 4. But it was the Buds 4 that felt the most like a genuine collaboration rather than a celebrity appearance. The Galaxy Buds 4 Pro are built for serious audio. They feature a wider woofer, enhanced active noise cancellation, and an adaptive EQ system that adjusts to your real-world environment in real time to deliver sound that stays true to the original recording. They were developed using data from over 100 million ear shapes worldwide and 10,000 fit simulations. This is audio engineering at the highest level. And Suga, a man who has spent his entire career obsessing over the quality of sound, who has sat in studios for hours debating the exact texture of a bass line or the right reverb on a vocal, was the person Samsung chose to stand in front of that product and say, "This is worth your attention." The alignment was not accidental. It was the result of Samsung understanding that the most powerful endorsements are not the ones you buy. They are the ones you earn through genuine match. The reaction was exactly what you would expect. Fans around the world talked about it. Tech journalists covered it. And Samsung's Galaxy Buds 4 became one of the most anticipated audio product releases of early 2026. That is the Suga effect in action. Now let's talk about Jimin and Dior, because this story is just as remarkable, but it unfolds in a completely different world with completely different stakes. It started in January 2023, when Dior made the announcement that sent shockwaves through both the K-pop and fashion industries simultaneously. ParkJimin of BTS had been named a global brand ambassador for Dior. Not a regional ambassador, not a limited collaboration. Global. The full statement from Dior said that Jimin embodies the timeless spirit and singularity of Dior, and that the partnership solidifies his existing friendship with the house. At the time, some fashion insiders raised an eyebrow. Not because they doubted Jimin's star power, but because they wondered whether this was about commerce rather than culture. Was Dior simply chasing the enormous economic influence of the Korean market and BTS fandom? South Korea spends more per person on personal luxury goods than any other country in the world. The numbers are extraordinary. Was this just a calculated business move dressed up in elegant language? What happened over the next 2 years answered that question definitively. Jimin showed up to every Dior engagement, not as a brand vehicle, but as a genuine participant in the culture of fashion. He attended shows. He wore the clothes with intention. He engaged with designers. He understood the craft. And when Jonathan Anderson took over as Dior's new creative director and presented his debut women's wear collection for Spring-Summer 2026 at the Tuileries Garden in Paris on October 1st, 2025, Jimin was there in the front row. What he wore that day became one of the most discussed fashion moments of the entire year. A black Dior blazer with sharp satin lapels and padded shoulders, worn completely open over his bare chest. Black leather wide-leg trousers, Chelsea boots, layered gold jewelry, his hair platinum blonde. The look was daring, precise, and completely self-assured. It was not the outfit of someone who was handed clothes and told to sit down and look pretty. It was the outfit of someone who understood exactly what they were doing and why. Within 12 hours, 4.8 million mentions on social media. Not reactions to the collection, reactions to him. The crowd outside the venue, fans who had traveled from multiple countries just to catch a glimpse, waited for a long time after the show ended. And then Jimin did something that nobody expected. Instead of slipping out a side exit the way most celebrities do, he waited until the official guests had cleared the steps, then walked down to personally greet every single fan who had been standing in the sun all day waiting for him. He smiled, he waved, he acknowledged them, he thanked them, and then, only after that, he left. That moment, perhaps more than any runway appearance or official campaign image, captured exactly why Dior has kept Jimin as their global ambassador longer than almost any other Korean artist in the house's history. Because what they signed was not a celebrity. What they signed was a person whose values, of genuine human connection, of artistic integrity, of care for the people around him, aligned perfectly with the image Dior wants to project to the world. Fashion at that level is not just about clothes. It is about what the person wearing those clothes makes you feel. And what Jimin makes the world feel, consistently and without effort, is something that no amount of money can manufacture. Here is where things get really interesting, because on the surface, Suga at a tech conference in San Francisco and Jimin at a fashion show in Paris seem like two completely separate stories. One is about headphones and smartphones. The other is about blazers and leather trousers. One is about engineering. The other is about art. But when you look closer, the two stories are actually the same story told in two different languages. Both Samsung and Dior made their choices based on the same fundamental insight. The most powerful brand partnerships in the modern world are not built on reach. They are built on resonance. There are celebrities with larger followings than both Suga and Jimin. There are entertainers with more mainstream name recognition in the American and European markets. But Samsung did not choose the person with the most followers. And Dior did not choose the most famous face. They chose the people whose identity, whose values, and whose relationship with their own craft genuinely reflected what those brands wanted to stand for. Samsung makes technology that is designed to enhance real life. Suga is a person for whom technology, specifically audio technology, is not a luxury. It is a necessity. It is the foundation of his art. When he talks about sound quality, he is not reading from a script. He is speaking from a place of genuine expertise and genuine passion. That is why when Samsung puts him in front of the Galaxy Buds 4 Pro, the endorsement lands differently than a typical celebrity campaign. It lands with weight, with credibility, with truth. Dior builds a world based on the idea that beauty is not accidental, that elegance is not effortless, that the things you wear and the spaces you inhabit are a reflection of who you are at your deepest level. And Jimin, a man who has spent his entire life refining his craft down to the smallest detail, who became the top student in his dance department not because he was the most naturally gifted, but because he worked harder than everyone else, embodies that philosophy in every single way. When Dior says Jimin represents their brand, they are not saying he is attractive or famous. They're saying he is precise. He is intentional. He cares about getting things right. Both of these men conquered different industries for the same reason. They were not pretending. They were not performing an identity that fit a brand's needs. They were themselves, and the brands found them because of that. What Suga and Jimin have done individually is remarkable, but what they represent together is something that American brands, marketing executives, and cultural strategists are only beginning to fully understand. For decades, the model of celebrity brand partnership worked in one direction. A brand identified a famous face, paid them a large sum of money, handed them a product, and hoped that their fans would follow. It was transactional. It was predictable. And increasingly, it stopped working because audiences became sophisticated enough to tell the difference between a genuine endorsement and a paycheck wearing a smile. What BTS, and specifically what Suga and Jimin, represent is a different model entirely. These are artists who built their audience over more than a decade through extraordinary transparency about who they are, what they value, and what they actually care about. Their fans, who span every continent and demographic, are not just following them because they make good music. They're following them because they trust them. Because when Suga says he loves something, the people who know him believe it. And when Jimin appears in a piece of clothing, they understand that he would not wear it if it was not genuinely him. That level of authentic audience trust is the single most valuable asset in modern marketing, and it cannot be purchased. It can only be earned over time through consistent, genuine behavior. Samsung recognized that. Dior recognized that. And the brands that will win the next decade of global commerce are the ones that learn the same lesson. There is also something deeply significant about the fact that both of these men come from South Korea, a country that, a generation ago, was not even on the map of global cultural influence. The rise of Korean music, Korean cinema, Korean fashion, and Korean design is one of the defining cultural stories of the 21st century. And Suga and Jimin are not just beneficiaries of that wave. They are among the people who created it. When Samsung stands on a stage in San Francisco and introduces their most important audio product with a Korean artist who genuinely understands sound, they are not making a gesture toward diversity. They are making a statement about where excellence comes from. And when Dior seats a Korean man in the front row of a Paris runway show for over 3 consecutive years and calls him the embodiment of their brand's spirit, they are not following a trend. They are acknowledging a reality. And here is something that does not get talked about enough. The numbers behind what Suga and Jimin bring to a brand are not soft numbers. They are not just social media impressions or fan engagement metrics. They are real, measurable, economic impact. When Jimin was announced as Dior's global ambassador in January 2023, search interest in Dior spiked in markets where the brand had historically struggled to break through, particularly in Southeast Asia and North America among younger demographics. When Suga appeared at Galaxy Unpacked, Samsung's Galaxy Buds 4 pre-order page, saw traffic surges that their own engineers described as extraordinary for a single event appearance. These are not coincidences. These are cause and effect. The data also tells us something fascinating about who is actually watching. The ARMY, the official BTS fandom, is one of the most studied communities in modern consumer behavior. Research from multiple universities and marketing firms has found that ARMY members are, on average, more educated, more economically active, and more brand loyal than the average consumer demographic. When a brand earns the trust of that community through a genuine partnership, they are not just reaching fans. They are reaching a highly engaged, highly motivated group of buyers who are ready to invest in the things their artists actually believe in. This is why Samsung and Dior did not just sign contracts. They made strategic decisions that will compound in value for years. And Suga and Jimin, simply by being exactly who they have always been, gave them everything they needed to make those decisions easy. So what is the takeaway from all of this? What is the untold story behind tech meets fashion? It is this. The most powerful force in modern global culture is not fame. It is not wealth. It is not even talent, though talent is obviously essential. The most powerful force is authenticity paired with excellence. It is the combination of being genuinely, deeply yourself while simultaneously being extraordinary at what you do. Suga built his credibility in the music world by refusing to compromise his artistic identity, even when it would have been commercially safer to do so. And that same refusal to be inauthentic is what made Samsung want him at their most important product launch of 2026. Jimin built his reputation in fashion, not by wearing the right clothes to the right events, but by approaching style the same way he approaches dance, as something that requires total commitment, continuous refinement, and genuine love for the craft. And that is precisely why Dior has held on to him longer than almost anyone else in their ambassador roster. Two members of the same group, two completely different industries, one shared philosophy: be real, be excellent, and the world will find you. If you made it this far, you already understand why this story matters. Because it is not just about K-pop, it is not just about Samsung or Dior. It is about what happens when the people at the top of their field stop being afraid to be exactly who they are. And the answer, as Suga and Jimin have shown the entire world, is that everything opens up. Make sure to like this video if you found it valuable, subscribe if you want more content like this, and drop in the comments which collaboration surprised you more. Suga at Samsung or Jimin at Dior? I genuinely want to know what you think.